Hello and welcome to MSSP 629, Research and Evaluation Design. This is video 21, Data Analysis Plans. Please take a moment to connect with the outcomes as a result of watching this video. The focus of this video will be data analysis plans. Please note that this is a part of a series of mini lessons that will help build your capacity to collect data and analyze it for a program evaluation. So what are data analysis plans? These describe a type of organizer that a researcher can use to place important information about data collection and analysis based on the evaluation questions and data sources that are used within a program evaluation study. So some typical components within a data analysis plan might include evaluation questions, data sources, data collection timelines, as well as those reporting timelines, and data analysis techniques. Please note that these organizers should be a supportive tool to you as the program evaluator, but also be very responsive to any types of informational needs that an evaluation sponsor may have within an evaluation. So this is not an exhaustive list, it's just a list that can help get you started as you put a data analysis plan together and put it in front of an evaluation sponsor or his or her team. So let's take the Office of Community Schools as an example. This is one that we will focus on during our course and time together, and this should be familiar to you as we've seen it in class or will be seeing it in an upcoming class session. So you would review this information, have conversations with the program staff, put together a logic model, and those are all very important activities prior to putting together a data analysis plan. So let's just put our hypothetical hats on and say that we would be utilizing the data analysis plan for the Office of Community Schools. So we would gather our information, which is displayed here on this slide. We would have our initial consultation with the client to determine their informational needs from the program evaluation, which is outlined here in the first area. I'll just go ahead and use my laser pointer. That's the first thing that you would need to do. The second thing that you would need to do prior to putting together a data analysis plan is creating the logic model. We have spent a lot of time in our course, as well as within the readings and the textbook, outlining the importance of a logic model, and that is really foundational in completing program evaluations to make sure that you as the evaluator have a solid understanding of the program's theory, the inputs, the outputs, as well as the outcomes. The final step that you would need to do prior to putting together a data analysis plan is considering the different measures and data sources that you could leverage to answer the evaluation questions at hand. Please keep in mind that this term realistically is very important. It may be very advantageous and potentially the best type of data collection to do focus groups across multiple sites. But potentially the evaluation sponsor may have a very important deadline that they need to deliver information to their sponsors and their funders in a quick time frame. So you have to balance what's methodologically the most sound and rigorous and comprehensive with the timeline that is set forth by the evaluation sponsor as well as the resources at hand. So I say here, please consider different measures that could realistically be used to answer the evaluation questions. And I have here just a screenshot of some potential data sources that were covered within the readings that we've had. Certainly not an exhaustive list, but just simply an example to share with you today. So data analysis plans should be created after these 3 milestones. And just to repeat one more time because it's so important, the initial consultation with the client to determine their informational needs to inform the program's evaluation. Number 2, creating that logic model. And number 3, considering the different measures that could realistically be utilized to answer the evaluation questions. So once these 3 milestones are completed, it would be appropriate for you as the evaluator, to create the data analysis plan. So what might a data analysis plan look like? If you were doing an impact evaluation, you will be looking closely at the outcomes. So I've designed here a data analysis plan that can help one organize their thinking around how you might go about answering questions related to outcomes within a program. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make this a little bit bigger as we navigate through the various components. Perfect. So as you can see here, the first column is dedicated to looking at the outcomes. They're right here with my writer. And you want to be able to map out the desired outcomes within a program. And if we're building on the Office of Community Schools, we know that there are 4 major outcomes that are desirable for the program. And they're listed here in each cell. So here's the first one, the second one, the third, and the fourth. Those are clearly outlined here in the first column. The second column is dedicated to guiding questions and arriving at precision and clarity as far as how the program is defining different concepts or different terms. So when you say in this outcome, students connect to services through whole child approach, what does that mean exactly? What does it mean to be connected? Does it mean to say that the program provided the contact information to a student's parent or guardian? Does it mean that the student attended the program's first meeting? Does it mean that the student attended for an entire quarter, an entire school year? So what does the program mean by connect? There could be a lot of different definitions there. So it's really important to say, how are they defining it? And from there, what evaluation question could be derived based on that definition? So when you're thinking about the guiding questions and arriving at precision, it's important for you to revisit the terms and concepts that the program uses that you might need clarity on, because without that clarity, you're not going to be able to design an evaluation question that appropriately answers the question at hand from the evaluation sponsor, nor will you be able to identify the appropriate data sources and analytic techniques to apply on those data sources. So this is really linear in that you have to, if we even go back a slide, we really have to make sure that you're having that initial consultation, you're drafting the logic model, you're thinking about different measures, but all of those activities inform putting together this data analysis plan that's displayed on this slide. So you have your outcomes, your guiding questions, what evaluation question may result from answering that outcome. So in this case, I said, to what extent have partnering schools connected students to services? I might go about answering that from 2 data sources. So records that help identify what students needed services, to say, okay, we identified 100 students that need services. Then how many of those 100 were properly connected and received those services from the respective programs or community-based organizations that are partnering with the school. So the data sources should be outlined here, which clearly describe how you would go about answering the evaluation question. So if the question is, how might the evaluation sponsor define, if the evaluation question is, to what extent have partnering schools connected students to services, records would be the data source that help you answer that question. And then as you move over here to the final 3 columns, you're seeing things related to the data collection timeline, the data analysis technique, and the reporting timeline. So you want to make sure you give yourself a buffer in terms of the time that you will collect the data and when you will report out on it. You want to make sure that you have given yourself enough time to go through all of the data sources, apply your data and analytic techniques, and be able to put together a really solid report within a good time frame. There's no hard and fast rule around how quick you will turn that report around based on your data analysis. That's something that you should negotiate with the evaluation sponsor. And you might want to get a good handle on those dates and timelines that the program evaluation sponsor may have during your initial consultation. So that's why it's so important to have that conversation, create the logic model, consider different measures prior to drafting this data analysis plan. So I invite you to look at this more closely. Look at the text boxes that I have here, as well as the arrows, to see what is really being conveyed within this data analysis plan more closely, as well as the PowerPoint that I will upload into the modules where you can look at it even more closely. So as we close this video for this pre-recorded module, I would invite you to think through the data analysis plans and all of the important milestones that you would need to have accomplished prior to creating your first draft of your analysis plan. So number one, have you had a discussion with program staff? I know for the purposes of the assignments within this course, you're not being commissioned or contracted with to do an evaluation. So all of this is hypothetical, but let's just move with number one here. Have you had a discussion with the program staff to learn more about the program, to have them check out your logic model to make sure that it aligns with what they're doing within their program? And have you considered asking them what types of information would be helpful to them at this point in helping move their program forward? Those are all really important things to consider as you are going through the data analysis plan process. The second is, have you drafted your program's logic model? So you've had that discussion, you've drafted your logic model. Now have you started to consider which measures could realistically be used to answer your evaluation questions? So those three milestones are really important to go through. They're kind of like going through three hoops before you get to the finish line. And the final piece is creating your data analysis plan. So I wrote here based on the visualization on slide 7. So if you look at what I have here, how might you go ahead and create this in a Word document or on a piece of paper and just create a table like this, have your headers in place, and practice drafting the information that could be found within each of those columns. Where might you need some additional clarification on terms or concepts that your program uses? What data sources may help you answer your evaluation questions? So I invite you to practice doing this. It's really important to get some of your ideas on paper and to go through this process of mapping out how long might it take to collect these data, how long may it take to analyze these data. And sometimes when you put it on paper, it helps bring some clarity to some knowledge gaps that you may have or things that you may need to get additional clarification on from the program. Please let me know if you have any questions about data analysis plans.